our community, those things. And we're going to go through just some basic information that we see as leading through circumstances, and then creative strategies for managing business in this environment that we all find ourselves. So we'll go to the next slide and launch the next poll as well. And really what we want to ask is how many of you are aware of the CARES Act and all the efforts of it? So as we slide into the next slide and the next poll, go ahead and take some time, walk through those questions. I'll talk a little bit about the CARES Act on a general setting, and then we'll take a look at the responses from those questions. If you have any comments that you want to have Aaron or Ken, we got the whole training team, I think, on the camera or behind the scenes with us. So if you have any comments, use the chat feature, put those in there, and Aaron, they can get that to me, and we can answer some questions at the end. We hope to have a little bit of time, and we certainly want to invite a dialogue after this. So this may not be the only one of these we do, but we want to encourage you to let us know what you're thinking if you have any questions, and we'll do our best to point you in the right direction or provide answers as we can. So down at the bottom of your screen, you're probably familiar with Zoom by now, but use that chat feature if you'd like to. So the CARES Act is basically the government's response to help businesses and individuals do what they can to recover from the negative impacts that we're all experiencing from the COVID outbreak. So I'm going to walk through briefly the Paycheck Protection Program. On the business side, that's the key element of that. The economic injury, disaster loans, or grant, if you will, the emergency grant is part of that. A small business debt relief. So some of this may be familiar, some of it may not. What we want to do is make you aware of the programs that are available to small businesses, and then the things that are happening, regardless of whether we take advantage of them or not. They're just going to send it out as on the individual side. And on the individual relief, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on these, but we'll have direct payments, the unemployment extension and expansion of that program, withdrawal penalties waived, increase of the 401k. There's like 70 bullet points that we could talk about in that one. It goes everywhere from right now with checks coming out potentially in the middle of the month, all the way through the end of the year with taxes, rebates, credits, a variety of things associated with our retirement accounts, with our funding and our current economic status and payroll. But the goal here and the spirit of these rules that the administration has put out on our behalf is to allow a better opportunity for businesses and individuals to recover from the impact here, and to do it in such a way that we first protect businesses. Businesses therefore protect the paychecks of their employees so that they can continue to operate within the economy and keep our economy strong. So that is the core of this. That's how Kicker has approached it, and we'll talk about that later. And that's how we're going to talk about this conversation as we move through the elements of what this looks like. So it looks like on our poll, this is great. Most of you are already aware, and that's wonderful news. Let's see, are you okay? That's great. So I'm really happy to see that so many people are already aware of this. And my hope is that then you would have some questions for us that we might be able to help out with after this call, and we can do that over email. We can do that with calls that we can set up with whomever we need to point your way, or maybe get you in touch or point you towards the person you need to be talking to on your side. So we'll go to the next slide now and get into some of the details here. So of the CARES Act, on the business relief side, there's not a lot of, and what we're going to present here, not a lot. We're going to get into the nitty gritty and the details. We're going to stay fairly high level. So the first part of it, it's a loan. It's an SBA loan with a 1% fixed interest rate. It's a 2-year note. So within that, they say, okay, well, how do you approach the loan? What is the funding amount that you can request for? Well, they said it's 2.5 times your average and monthly payroll. So you can look at that as all of 2019, roll that up, what your average payroll is, multiply that times 2.5, and that's the amount that you can ask the SBA for. There's a lot of interpretation as to how that's being worked out right now. The banks are using it in different ways. But the core of it is payroll and employee expenses. So we're talking retirement, healthcare, sick, all those types of things roll up into payroll expenses. And then local and state taxes. The federal taxes get removed out of that number. But that's where the number comes from and how much you can ask for. And the reason that that's important comes because it's potentially 100% forgivable if as an organization, we treat it properly, and we do the things that allow us to ask for that to be forgiven. So what that looks like is, as part of the loan, first, they're going to delay payments for 6 months. So you don't have to make payments on that loan for the first 6 months. It will accrue the 1% interest during that time. But after June 30th, which is the deadline that they're kind of using for this current window, you can request to have your loan forgiven. And as long as you followed the 100% forgiveness rules here, where you're using it for qualified expenses, we'll go over those in just a moment, you've maintained your payroll expenses at least 75% of what your average is, and you continue that going forward, and you maintain your current employment. So the number of employees that you have, it's part of the application process, and what that looks like. We'll have some resources on the last page of this, and we'll send all this out in an email to you also with resources if you don't have access or you haven't seen these yet, places to go, and can certainly help with the information that you would need and point you to an SBA lender that can help you on your side. But that's what it comes down to. So if you've already laid people off, or if you're planning to lay people off, there's actually a stipulation within this that is allowing of that. You just need to rehire them quickly in order to have the loan forgiven. So you've got until middle of the month to make those decisions on layoffs or furloughs. And then you've got until June 30th to hire those people back. So if you've hired at least 90% of your average payroll count, which we'll get into the details here, but you can use your 940s and 941s from last year to identify those numbers. And if you're at least 90% or above after June 30th, and you maintain the percent of payroll expenses, then the SBA will forgive the payroll portion of that loan based on you following their guidelines and rules. Now, the rest of it, if you were to use some of those expenses for other things, non-essentially related, or in a way that it wasn't in line, the way that we understand it now, which rules are changing like literally every day or throughout the day, but the way we understand it is they'll remove portions of that out of what can be forgivable, and still forgive part of it, but not forgive the rest of it. So it does matter that you understand the stipulations that you're getting into here, if this is a program that you want to take advantage of. And it's not going to be right for everyone. Not every business is going to want to take advantage of this, but it is a great program for those that are impacted to be able to move forward in a way that is less impactful specifically to the paychecks. That is the intent, is to protect those paychecks. And in doing so, they're going to protect the businesses so that they can do that. So qualifying businesses, sole proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed persons, businesses with less than 500 staff. And you had to be open since the 15th of February. Probably everybody on this call has been open much longer than that. But those are kind of the key ones. There's a lot of details in there, but that's the goal. A couple of things that are important here. The independent contractors, many of you work with independent contractors. We do also. The rules as they're laid out, the intent of the rules does not include the independent contractors as part of your payroll, or in Kicker's view, it doesn't include them as part of our payroll. So this is something we took advantage of, and we didn't include them, but we've got the ability to now coach those independent contractors to go out and take advantage of this for themselves. So they can apply as of today. Actually, the application for them opened today, and they can go out and take advantage of this loan to recover those expenses for themselves as well. So they're not left hanging. In the past, unemployment doesn't include them. It doesn't include the self-employed very well. There's lots of difficulties for that group of people, and they've included what we call the gig workers in that space as well. So moving on to the next slide, we'll kind of talk about how they can be used. So the funds, once you have them, can be used in a variety of ways. And this goes back to the core and the spirit behind these rules, and that is to protect the viability of American businesses. We want our businesses to remain open, if at all possible, during this time, so that at the other side of this, we've got viable businesses that can then chart the path towards growth again and get back into some sense of whatever the new normal is going to be. So you can use the expenses for more than payroll to help maintain the viability of your business. That can go to certainly payroll costs, salary, wages, employee benefits, those things. You can actually use it for the interest on a mortgage that you might have, not the principal side, but the interest. You can use it for rent on your business. If you've got your building and you rent that, you can use it for that. You can use it for the utilities. So some of those kind of fixed costs, that's what they want this to be able to be used for, to maintain. You can't get out from underneath those. Even if you close your doors, you're still going to have to pay those to reopen when this is over and passes by. And the last thing is just there's other business debt obligations that might be out there. You can use it for the interest on those obligations as well. So again, you've got a chance to have 100% forgiven on this if you follow those guidelines, and the guidelines are quite reasonable and really work in the favor of small businesses. In fact, my wife and I own a small business on the side, and we're taking advantage of this. So I've got firsthand knowledge of going through the process of the application and helping her understand what it's going to look like as she looks at the employees and how to make sure that they're taken care of, and what she's taken on to make sure that they can get through this as well, while she's also trying to support the community and the things that she can have an impact there. So there's a lot of details here, but the guidelines are really helpful in being able to get that loan forgiven at the end of this. So on the next slide, we'll jump into the individual stimulus just briefly. I'm finding as I talk to people, less people are actually aware of this one than I expected. And maybe that's because of my own circles and business owners and here at Kicker, and it's been a big conversation. But there's direct payments going out to every tax-paying, as our fearless leader said yesterday, male and female. So we've got every tax-paying male and female out there that is going to get a check. Individuals, $1,200. Couples, married couples, $2,400. Plus a kicker, as they say, $500 per qualified child. So for each child in the house, there's $500. Now, the states have some ruling over this, so it's different in some states as there's caps on it. But there is that, and it's coming regardless. My understanding is they're trying to get checks out mid-month, and those will go direct deposit or checks depending on how your last tax return was filed and how you got payment for that. Deferred loan payments. So student loans specifically, that's the big one here. But other federally backed loans, they're basically saying, hey, you can defer the payment. We're also going to stop aggregating interest on you. So we're not going to accrue that interest through September 30th. So between now and September 30th, we can essentially stop payments. And if you've been watching, or if you haven't gotten a phone call from your bank already, if you have a mortgage or a car loan, I mean, I think every day I'm getting called by somebody else. That makes it sound like I have a lot of loans, but every day I'm getting called by somebody else that says, hey, you don't have to pay your loan if you don't want to for a little while. But this is part of the program, and the intent behind it is to safeguard the personal economics of families once they've safeguarded the viability of businesses and those paychecks. So that's part of the program. And one of the other interesting pieces that I'll mention here, there's so many I didn't want to try to list them all, but the use of retirement funds. They've opened that up a little bit, where they've added a 10%, or there is a 10% withdrawal fee if you pull out retirement funds too early, and they've waived that up to $100,000. Now, there's again rules in here, and the companies have some control of what that is, but all of those things are being put in a position so as individuals we have some control over this as well. Moving on to Kicker's response. So we talked with Steve, and as you all know, if you've been around for any length of time, he has spent a tremendous amount of time building a culture in this building and amongst our crew that is one of leadership through circumstances. So circumstances don't change who we are. They just provide us opportunities to show the strengths that we've created, the foundation that we created, and being good employees or good business owners or good civic leaders, whatever that might look like. And in those circumstances, as they change, that doesn't mean that we're necessarily bouncing around, and it just means we take what we've got available and then we put it to use, and we continue to lead. So what Kicker has done in this scenario and what we're working on now is everybody who can has been asked to work from home. There's a lot of people in the building, roughly 200 people here in the building, and certainly not all of them can work from home. The warehouse over here is still active and moving, but there's lots of folks that can, and they've taken their entire workstations home, and they've got the ability to do that. And our IT team was tremendous at how fast they made that work for everybody. So that was wonderful. Social distance, like literally everywhere. This is one of those things that if you're watching the talking heads, I guess I'm one of those now. All right. You'll find I don't stay on topic very well sometimes, but if you're watching the talking heads, this isn't so much about whether I'm going to get it or not, or whether you're going to get it or not. It's about protecting, oftentimes, the higher risk. So if you're out and about all the time, I think that the greatest meme, I guess they call them, that I've seen on this lately is, hey, if your version of social distancing and a separation is hanging out with one person that's different every day, I think you've missed the point. And that's the goal here is for folks that have a potential to interact with the public, we need to be aware of that and aware that they may have different opinions of this situation than we do. And so just social distancing whenever possible is important in this environment, just to slow this down so that the systems that are being put in place can keep up with it better. Good hygiene is always important, but in this scenario, it's certainly even more so. Now, I will say you can wash your hands 40 times a day, but you're not going to get it through your skin. You're going to get it by touching your mouth, nose, eyes, as you probably know. So wash your hands is great, but let's stop touching our faces also. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Man, my kids, it's impossible. I can't get them to get that one through their head. But so let's see. We're encouraging that around the building, and this is a best practice for you guys as well. We've put help me, what's the word? Oh, there we go. Hand sanitizer around the building. We've got a variety of things available. There's disinfectant rags. People can clean their stations for the folks that are still here. All those things are great to provide for your staff. Cleaning common areas even more and increased disinfecting. And then the next thing we did is we as Kicker are taking advantage of the payroll protection program. And we've applied for that. That funding is going to come in. And Steve's intent is to keep all of Kicker staff fully employed through this program. So we have no intentions of making any changes to that. We're going to continue business as new normal as best we can. And the ones that are most important to supporting our field partners, there's no difference at all. So customer service, business as usual. They're moving right along. Tech support, same thing, business as usual. Tech force, we've increased remote trainings, access to that. We're doing more of those things. They're both live and recorded, so we have several opportunities there. Assembly out here to our right continues in the building. Manufacturing, our partners are up and running again. The lines are moving, and that's great. So we're ready as we come out of this, and all of you start to, well, most of you are open, but as you start to see opportunities for business and orders come in, we're ready to go. Shipping and receiving is fully functional. Electronic repair, business as usual. Warranty, business as usual. I don't usually read slides, and here I am reading the slide. Sales, they're getting creative. That's what I was told. So I didn't, they knew I would tell you if they told me, so they didn't even tell me what they're working on because they know I can't keep a secret for anything. So stay tuned. They're getting creative, and it's going to be fun. We're going to get that announcement soon, but they didn't want me to take the sales team's thunder, so we'll save that for them later. Let's see. Leading through circumstances. Look, we don't want to be up here certainly putting ourselves in a spot that we know how to get through this, and this is exactly how it's going to work, but we do want to be encouraging, and we want to create an environment that, how are we doing on time? I don't have a clock that I can see.
So 20 after 10, we're good.
Man, we're good. So, look, but we do want to be an encouragement, and we want to provide the information that we're doing in a way that hopefully it inspires and motivates others to lead in their communities as well. So I already kind of mentioned leading through circumstances, but it's so easy if we just constantly are always thinking about focusing on the next right thing, whatever that is. And that goes for ourselves, it goes for our staff, the people in our circles around us, those circles of influence that we have. Communication is essential in this time. Internal communication, external communication. I feel like I say all the time, like, I don't know how I can be busier. And then COVID hit, and I'm like, wow, I just found a whole new level of busyness. It's just, it feels like I'm talking all day long, and there's stuff coming at me all the time. But communication is so key to those around you, your immediate family, your extended family, the folks that work for you, your peers, mentors or mentees that you might have. Just having regular and constant communication is vital in this time to make sure that everybody's on the same page and trying to move in the same direction and providing encouragement and emotional support to those folks. Look, my daughter went to me to pick up, we did our civic duty, and we did pick up at Walmart this morning. We didn't go inside, but she could not handle being in the house anymore. She needed to see other live faces. She's working on week 3 of not leaving her house, distance learning, as you guys have all seen. And she just needed that space away to see other people. We're all in that spot, and it's difficult and it's tough, but we've got the emotional support available. We've got amazing technologies available to us like this that we can try to connect. And then just constant challenge of growth. I mean, and growth comes in all kinds of shapes, right? So it's education, it's learning, it's reading, looking for articles, staying aware of what's going on, being aware locally in your community of what's happening and how you can support those things. And physical care is in that same boat. So it's going to look different for everybody. I mean, it may be a walk, right? They're not taking the sidewalks away from us, thankfully. But maybe getting out and doing that, whatever it takes to just break the routine a little bit. I was talking with a friend that owns an IT company in town, and all of his guys went remote real quick. And he's like, 4 days in, we were all trying to punch each other through the screens. And I realized, like, they're all working way more than usual because they're just right in front of their computer, and their work really lends well to that. And they were just all stressed out. So he did a virtual happy hour and got them all out of their computer and asked them to go out on their back porch and get whatever they wanted to drink, and just to try to break up the rhythm a little bit. And that supporting of the community piece, there's still things that we can do. There are needs in our communities that we can be a part of. And if we're doing our part as business owners and individuals and focusing on the next right thing and making smart decisions for ourselves and our businesses, we're going to be there to help the community when they need it. And we're going to be able to provide that support and leadership that they need as well. And then I'll get into kind of the last thing here. And this is just trying to have some lighthearted fun with this also, and create some ways and some things that we've heard people doing out there. I think we skipped a poll, Aaron. Did I completely skip a poll? What was the next one?
Kicker support during this.
Yeah, okay, so this is good. So if there's anything that we can do, so this is among this kind of idea of creative responses, if there's anything Kicker can do for you, ideas that you would say or questions that you have, use the chat box. We didn't have an open-ended forum on this one, so use the chat box, let us know. We want to be aware of your needs and your concerns. Certainly, we're not going to be able to answer all of them or satisfy all of them, but we can certainly be there and work through that and talk through that with you. We want to be that support mechanism for you as well. But, you know, using your customer lists. I mean, it's one of these things that we think about all the time. Hey, maybe you don't even gather a customer list. And I'll go back to the old saying is, you know, when's the best time to plant a tree, now or 20 years ago? Well, 20 years from now, it'll be now. So start the tree. Let's get it going. So start that customer list during this time if you haven't already. Maybe you can do it with old customers. Reach out to them. How are they doing? What's going on? Use the opportunity to keep yourself busy and your crew busy. Things to do and ways to engage with those customers. And follow up on those things. Let's see. You can look at the previous opportunities that maybe didn't pan out. Reach back out to them. Same thing. Email marketing, social marketing. If you have those lists, now's a great time to put them to use. You don't want to overload your customers because they're getting hit by everyone right now. But doing this, providing opportunities and suggestions for you know, what's going on and what other customers are doing, spotlighting a customer who's having fun, spotlighting somebody in your crew that is doing something interesting. We're working on some of those stories around here right now also. One, it makes them feel good, and it's just a feel good thing for your customers. So use that information. Bill, our social media manager, if you follow the Facebook page for Kicker, is in the process of putting some stuff out there, and would certainly welcome your questions and helping people look like, what does it look like in social media? How best do I do that? What kind of pictures? And he can even help provide some of those images for you as well if you need some help there. What do people engage with? He's certainly available and would love to help out with that also. So let us know if you want to make a contact there. So some of the things that we've thought about, social tips and tricks, pickup and delivery. You know, maybe there's an opportunity to reach out to these folks and say, hey, we'll come get your vehicle. We'll bring it, we'll clean it up, we'll sanitize it, we'll bring it back to you when we're done. There's how many different ways can we get creative on that that we would have access to? So have a bit of fun. You know, if you do get to engage with customers, let's say you go pick up a car, you do some work on it for them, and you take it back. Toilet paper, disinfectant, paper towels, tissue mat, these things are hard to get a hold of, and it's like the constant thing to make fun of also at the same time. But drop a couple extra loads of or a couple of toilet paper rolls in the seat when you take the car back to them. Have some fun with it. Be lighthearted. We don't want to make fun of the situation, but we can certainly have fun with the folks that we're close to, and we can have fun in the situation. So that's a pretty brief thing. We wanted to just get in front of you and provide some basic information. Make sure that you knew that these resources were available to you if you wanted to take advantage of them. That's not something we can help you do, but we can certainly help you know who to go out to. There's going to be people in your area. It's traditional SBA lenders, so the banks in your area. They call it a 7A loan. There's a list on the SBA website, and the next screen here has some resources that we will send to you. Some of this is just basic information, so it's just something to read. Some of it's specific, has items in it for here's what you'll need to collect and be ready for if you want to take advantage of these loans. And we just wanted for you to know that we're here. We want to continue to be partnering with you to help you get through this time. We are confident that we've chosen strong partners to work with. We've got strong vendors and strong field partners, and we know that as this continues, that we'll come out of this on the other side. We've got tremendous faith in the people in this building and the people out there and our creator that has all of this under control. And so we're excited about what that might look like to be able to help you. So let us know. Use that chat in these last moments, and I'll turn it over to Aaron if they want to have anything else to say. Otherwise, we'll just shut it down.
Let me take a look at the chat.
Great.
There's a lot of thank you. People saying they appreciate the information. It's been very helpful and informative. A few people asking for the PowerPoint. We'll provide the PowerPoint
Absolutely.
at the end of the email. And if they have follow-up ideas on what they'd like to see from us, please let us know, because we can certainly do more of this. And Jeremy has educated himself on this topic extensively, so we'd like to use Jeremy again.
And I'll end us with the quote on my coffee cup. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And what a better time than this to turn pro with whatever type of weirdness we can come up with.
Okay. Right. Sign off. End it.
Mm-hmm. Looking through these chats to see what people